Call us today at 352-351-1131 or visit us online at brickcity.
Almost 5 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. So how do you chill? You know how I chill? I look at videos of animals. I really do. And you know this is true, Robin.
Yeah.
And I don't get bummed out by too much, or maybe I'm not even bummed out. Maybe just the end of the day, I don't really want to watch a soap opera or something dramatic. I just want to just put on YouTube and watch a dog chasing another dog. It is something, and then one thing leads to the next, and all of a sudden you've seen this amazing video of how smart penguins are, or how smart pigs are. I was watching this video not that long ago, and it made me think, oh, maybe I should be a vegetarian. I am not kidding. The animals are just so amazing. I used to go. The cover of the book we're going to talk about is called Humanimal. The book is called Humanimal, and on the cover there's a polar bear. And when I was a kid, I lived outside New York City, and I would go into the city with my friends, and we'd go to the game rooms in Times Square, etc. And it wasn't that far of a walk to the Central Park Zoo, and there used to be a polar bear there named Snowball or Snowflake. I can't remember. I know. And I would talk to the bear. And it never even occurred to me back then how small of a place he really had. But now, as an adult looking back, I was thinking, wow, that wasn't much of a space for that. That was in the late 60s, I guess. Mm-hmm. There's a part of me that believes that animals are smarter than we give them credit for, right? You ever hear people say, what's the smartest animal? They always say a dolphin or something, right?
Yeah, they do.
And I think there's a dolphin. Yeah, there is a dolphin on the cover. All right, let's talk to Christopher Lloyd. He wrote this book, and did I hear you say he's in England?
England, yes.
England? Hey.
England, and it's getting cold, and it's getting dark.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Did I do that?
That's problem. I'm wrapped up, don't worry.
Oh, you're wrapped up? But the heater stopped working?
No, the heat is still working, but I somehow it's just, I'm just getting used to the cold again.
So you know what
I just come back from South Africa, where, funnily enough, Larry, only yesterday I was meeting penguins living. There's a beautiful colony near Cape Town called Boulders Bay, and they only used to have two breeding pairs of penguins in the 1980s, but now there are literally several thousand. Which is a really uplifting story, how they managed to change the fishing habits of the humans in False Bay, and now there's enough food there, the different pilchards and the squids that the penguins like to eat, and the colony is thriving. And we were just with my eldest daughter, who loves penguins, and she's 24 now, she's always loved penguins, and for the first time we could get really close up and enjoy talking to the penguins, and it was brilliant.
Oh, that is amazing. I love that story. Did you hear the story a little earlier this week, I think, about an orangutan that was granted a personhood? Did you hear that story?
Well, the Grape Ape Project has been aiming to try and give rights to other apes for many years. I know. I've been following them. And quite right, too, because, our DNA is 99% the same, so why shouldn't our Bill of Rights be 99% the same?
And I love the way the animal world, the human world emulates the animal world, because you say that the bonobos share the food with the hungry, and that's what we try to do here.
Yeah. That's right. Absolutely. In fact, there are so many different things that you think are unique to humans. That's how I started this whole book, Humanimal, was thinking, what are the things that most people would say are uniquely human or define us as a species? And then how true is that if we start looking at other animals? And then ultimately I thought, what am I going to call this book? And I thought, well, we can't really talk of ourselves as humans versus animals or different from animals. Let's be humanimal. Let's be realistic. Let's change the language. And then we can start to change the thinking. And that those intuitive feelings that young people have, that they feel very close and empathetic to animals, whether they're domesticated animals or whether they're visiting a zoo or wherever it may be, those intuitions are actually seem to be playing out even in scientific research now across the spectrum of different creatures. Scientists are finding how similar humans and animals really are in their behaviors.
Is that right?
And their ways of life.
So I'm agreeing with you, and I love what you're doing, but I'm going to seem like I'm being contradictory just for a second, okay? Because I think there's one part of humans that probably does not show up in the animal kingdom, and that would be the part that makes us want to rule the world, that makes us want to be prejudiced against somebody because of the color of their skin. I'm guessing that doesn't happen in the animal world, those bad things that are part of being human.
I'm not sure I would agree. I would say if you look at, say, ants, for example, there are very many different species of ants who are incredibly nasty to each other.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, you get ants having epic wars and battles. Makes like the Somme, makes it would pale into insignificance compared with some of the battlegrounds you find ants engaging with. And we're a very visual species, which is why color has become such a divisive thing, I think, in human culture. But there are other species that are very visual too. It's interesting to observe that we have a very bad sense of smell compared with a dog, or most other mammals, actually. So over many generations, we've evolved to make our decisions based on how things look and symmetry rather than how things smell, which is how a lot of other animals do things. You look at a children's book. I'm interested in children's books because I write them. But if you look at a fictional book and you look at the face of a princess compared with the face of a witch, and you will see it's the asymmetry of the witch that makes us instantly find her ugly compared with the princess, who has a face that conforms to the norm of what we would expect to see.
Oh, that is interesting.
And so our prejudice is very visual, but birds are very visual too. So I think it wouldn't be, they don't have a great sense of smell. Look at eagles' vision. I wouldn't be at all surprised if there isn't prejudice based on color and vision in the animal world, but I'd be interested to see some research, actually. It's a really interesting topic.
Your answer was fascinating, absolutely. The book is designed to look like a children's book, and I guess we can say it is a children's book, but I'm telling you, this is a book you don't want to put down no matter how old you are. I mean, I'm learning just by looking through it as we're talking.
Great. Well, I mean, I never think of my books as just children's books. What I think is that children are fascinating because, in my experience, and I do lots of talks and lectures all around the world in schools, and I'm actually coming over to the States tomorrow to Cincinnati to give a whole week of talks. I'm very privileged that the people I'm speaking to are often aged 9, 10, 11, 12, and I think that's the age where humans reach their peak curiosity in many ways because, distractions haven't kicked in like puberty and peer pressure and public exams and mortgages and all that kind of stuff. And for a moment there, humans are able to really sort of be naturally curious about the world around them. And I think that's what children are. And when hopefully there's enough detail in these books that children will find out stuff and they'll want to tell adults, whether they're their teachers or their parents or grandparents. Did you know that bees actually vote? They decide where they're going to relocate their nest based on a democratic process.
Really?
Which is extraordinary.
Wow.
If we mirrored the system that bees use, we would not be in this mess over here with this thing called Brexit. I don't know if you've been following it, but I think the bees have a much better system. And if we had, had enough respect to consider how they would make this decision, we would have come up with a much better solution to how to get ourselves out of this hole.
Plus, they always have a female in charge. Just so you know.
There's quite a lot of animal societies that do that as well. Yeah.
Do you think that the animals know when their kind is decreasing in number and they try to be self-preserved?
Well, that's a really interesting question, isn't it? I suppose that's to some extent to do with consciousness. And it's only really very recently that humans have developed a sense perhaps of the jeopardy that we're putting the planet in. I would date it back perhaps to those pictures of Earthrise on the moon, when the astronauts could see a holistic picture of the Earth rising, which nobody had ever seen before. For thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, people had seen the sunrise and the moonrise. Nobody had seen the Earth rise, and how vulnerable and fragile and beautiful this this whole system is that we live in. And no other species has ever been to the moon. And no other species has been aware of this habitat that we're living in. So I guess I'm sort of slightly, arguing against myself here by saying that makes humans special. And of course, some things do make humans special. I mean, every species is, in a way, special in its own way, but also completely inextricably linked to everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why humanimal, I think, as a word, is a really effective one.
Really
because
good.
if we just think of ourselves in isolation over here, then we don't have the empathy that's going to be so important for the survival of all life on Earth.
Well,
But, we've got to recognize the interconnectedness and the links. And that Earthrise moment was really special because I think in the last 50, 60 years, we have come a long way in our thinking. Maybe not so far maybe we've gone backwards in our behavior. Maybe there's hope that we can turn that around too. We'll have to see.
Christopher, thank you for being on the show with us today. Have a good trip to the U.S. And if you think England is cold, wait till you get to Cincinnati.
You bet. I'm just in the rehearsal. I'm in the dressing up room at the moment. You bet.
The book is called Humanimal. I found it on Amazon. Do you have a website you'd like to recommend?
Yes, whatonearthbooks.com. We have the book there, of course, and but I would really love people to consider going to their local independent bookseller because I'm a great fan of bookshops. I think people who run them are passionate people. They love telling stories. They're magical places for young people to go to. So, of course, Amazon or online is only a click away, and that's convenient for some people. But if you can take the trouble to go and find your local bookstore, you'll have a ball, I'm sure.
I do agree with everything you said. Bring an extra sweater. Just don't want to just...
Well,
Christopher, thank you, and definitely if you're ever in Florida, we'd love to see you.
Oh, I'd love that, and I will definitely try and make sure I can come and visit some places in Florida. I would love that.
All right.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Thank you, Robin.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Health Alert Ocala residents, how would you like to feel better and become a healthier person just by going to sleep at night? This is all made possible and affordable with the